Hi, my name is Jack Stanley, and this is my Milestone 1 mechanic. So, for my mechanic, I introduced phases to the mini boss and the final boss. I also added some placeholders for the animations as well as the sounds for when the enemy attacks. I haven't found the correct sounds for it to actually play yet, which is why I just put in the placeholders for now. I also added sounds for the transition between phases for the mini boss and the boss. So this is the introduction, which is just one phase, which is just the basic enemy as well as the ranged enemy. As you can see, it's just one phase. They follow you. Cool little effect there. And then the ranged enemy is also one phase. And that's when we go into the practice with two phases. So this right here is the mini boss, which does both attack and ranged attacks. I added a little effect there. And when reaching half health, as you can see, it shows a little invincibility state there and played that sound. And then there's the boss, which is the mastery state. That has three phases. He has a lot more health, so it takes a little longer to take him out. And there, he's entering his next phase. During this phase, you can't deal any damage. Once the time is up, the glow effect comes off, indicating he's not invincible anymore. He gets faster, as you can see. Oh. There, he's entering his next phase. So you can see he's getting faster with each phase. And that would be the end of the mastery. As I said, they all have placeholders for animations and sounds. I haven't found the correct sounds for the attacking yet. Once I do, I will add that in there. And as you can clearly see, the design pillar that my mechanic follows is the combat pillar. And that is all I have for my Milestone 1 mechanic.
Hello everyone, this is Seth Zimmerman, part of Team Indigo Narwhal, and today I will be demonstrating my Milestone 1 mechanics that were implemented into the game. Open this up here from the depot. Apologies for how loud the music is. I'm actually just going to turn it off for the video. Okay, so go to level select here, and we have my test level. A couple of things to talk about here. So first of all, the first floor is for the health pickups and the upgrades, which I will be demonstrating in a moment. And then the following floors are going to be for elemental upgrades. So for the sake of the health pickups and the upgrades, I'm going to just allow my player character to take damage from the AI, and we will then be able to see the health amounts. So we'll get close. There we go. Okay, so we have about 10% HP left. The first pickup is a light health pickup here, and it is a 25 HP regen. So there we go. And then the second pickup is a medium pickup, which does 50%, or I'm sorry, 50 HP regen, which you will see there. Finally, the upgrade, the health upgrade, is a permanent 10 increase to a permanent 10 increase to the player health, as well as 50 health regen. So we have our health increase there and our heal. So moving on to elemental upgrades, you saw briefly we're in the fire state, and the fireball, you saw the damage that was dealt to the enemies. The upgrade increases, I believe it's almost double base damage, but it's for a short duration. I believe it's 7 seconds. So we'll see that here. So the projectile size is much larger, and it deals a much greater amount of damage. Go through here. So the next upgrade that is demonstrated is the lightning, I believe. The lightning, when you hold in the left mouse button, it forms clouds, and 3 lightning strikes will attack the enemy, and it's kind of like a skill shot AoE attack. There's still some things being ironed out in regards to it. But let's see here. This is giving me... There we go. Okay, so we have the lightning upgrade here, which is a simple, similar to the fire upgrade. It is simply damage increase. So we'll pick this up. And we will now be dealing a greater amount of damage to the AI. Except we're, for some reason, having slight difficulty with the hitboxes of the lightning strikes. However, there you go. So the third strike, you can see, does a much greater amount of damage. And that is going to be... We have some ironing out to do. But what is supposed to happen is every lightning strike will deal that increased amount of damage, and it won't just be that third strike. So, but the lightning upgrade will in the future affect all 3 lightning strikes to deal that increased amount of damage for a duration of time. So those are the damage upgrades. The following 2 upgrades are actually affecting, oh my gosh, are actually affecting the utilities of the earth state and the air state. So just to quickly demonstrate, that is the earth wall, and it takes some time to appear in level. But what we decided to do is create an earth element upgrade that drastically increases the rate that the rock wall spawns for a short period of time. That will be especially useful in combat scenarios dealing with ranged enemies and bosses. So I'll pick this up. And you'll see that during that time, the wall is much faster. And we'll move on to the final upgrade here. I'm just going to skip past these guys. So we have the air upgrade. So actually, I guess what I can do is quickly show you down here. So the air upgrade, or I'm sorry, the air element, when you hold in left mouse button, you spawn an air projectile. The longer that you hold the left mouse button, it charges and increases the size of the projectile and the damage that's dealt. And I believe the max is 3 seconds. Let's see here. So there you go. That is the max size of the projectile. And what the air elemental upgrade does is drastically reduces the charge time needed to reach that max projectile size and damage. That's medium. Okay, well those were mediums. That was not large, so I apologize. But it actually reduces the time from 3 seconds to 1.5 seconds needed for the full effect and size of the projectile. So we have in conclusion, 2 health pickups that restore different amounts of HP. We have the health upgrade that permanently increases player health by 10, as well as heals. And then we have our 2 damage upgrade abilities, or I'm sorry, our 2 damage upgrades for the 2 abilities of fire and lightning, and 2 utility elemental upgrades for air and earth. So that is going to conclude the demonstration for my week 1, or I'm sorry, my milestone 1. And thank you very much for watching.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Leonard, and I will be going through my mechanic milestone presentation. Here I will demonstrate the expanded melee ability and melee finisher. My mechanic aligns with 3 of the 4 design pillars for our game, the elemental, combat, and upgrade pillars. This is because my mechanic is a melee attack that can be used alongside the ranged elemental abilities. Using a melee finisher on an enemy can grant a power-up that will boost elemental damage for a short time. Our game has combat scenarios that will require the player to use their abilities to deal damage to enemies that may get in the way. While the dragon has many elemental ranged abilities that they can use, I expanded upon the dragon's melee abilities so that the player has more ways to approach these combat scenarios. It is dangerous to get up close to an enemy, but hitting an enemy with a melee attack has a separate cooldown for ranged abilities. So if the player is willing to take risks, they can deal damage very quickly. Furthermore, the melee finisher ability is in effect when the enemy is at low health, signaled by the smoke coming off of them. At this point, if the dragon uses a melee attack, 2 advantages will be granted. First, the dash will be reset, allowing another immediately if the dash is still on cooldown. Second, the enemy has a high chance to drop a beneficial health or damage upgrade. Although the player is in more danger by using melee attacks, they are rewarded for taking the risk. The game's tutorial should provide an easy way to practice the technique until the melee attack is mastered. A harmless enemy will stand still, and a door will block the way. In order to progress, the player will have to use their melee attack on the enemy, which will execute a melee finisher, drop a power-up, and then open the door. As mentioned, using a melee attack deals damage to the enemy on top of the ranged ability damage. The most tangible reward, however, comes from the melee finisher, which as stated will grant a high chance of dropping a power-up. The melee attack has a cooldown, so the player will have to time their attacks, or else they have to wait to use their melee attack, punishing the player for missing. However, successfully hitting an enemy with a melee attack will lower the cooldown more than if they miss, rewarding the player. This cooldown is even stronger or lower if the player is airborne while doing the melee attack. When the dragon uses a melee attack, a claw swipe animation will play, showing the exact range and area of the attack, as well as the duration. This comes with a swinging sound effect. Swinging will also update the UI. The red icon next to the health bar will gray out when the attack is on cooldown, and will shake and recolor when the cooldown is over. When the player hits an enemy, a sound is played. The enemy health bar is updated to show that they took damage, and the player is knocked back. If the player hits a smoking enemy, the enemy dies and a colorful explosion plays. The melee attack door tutorial should introduce the player to the melee attack and finisher. Later on, the player will need to apply the skill to enemies when they are lower on health as they go through their adventure, knowing that by doing so, they will drop helpful power-ups that they might need. Mastery lies in the effective use of the melee attack altogether. If the player hits an enemy midair with the melee attack, their double jump is reset. This can be chained many times in a row, but will get more difficult if they perform it by lowering jump height. If the player has good timing, they can hit enemies with the melee attack multiple times in a row, demonstrating mastery. The melee attack also has a downward strike as well, a downward stomp attack, as shown here. This can only be executed by pressing down and the melee attack at the same time.
Hello, my name is Garrett Howard, part of Team Indigo Narwhal, and today I'll be demonstrating my Milestone 1 mechanic. So we have the level select, and we do the Garrett Lee Howard testing. So the player starts in the fire elemental mode. We have, for this mechanic, we added, used to be there was only a left mouse button offensive ability and then just a glide ability. But we decided to make both offensive and utility abilities for every elemental state. So since we're already in the fire state, let's get started here. So this is the fire element testing area. We have a brief checkpoint. So left mouse button to shoot fireball at enemies. This deals damage to enemies, and of course it can be adjusted. We also at the very top of the screen have an ability cooldown indicator for player facing information. So next, fireballs can also burn doors. This follows the core pillar of elements affecting the world around the player. So the fireballs can burn doors. Next, for the fire element, we added a right mouse button. It's called fire scales, but it's a parry. It has, so for half a second, it will parry whatever damage is coming at you. But it does have a little bit of a longer cooldown, so you can't just use it. You can only use it when the cooldown is done. So, and then we also added interacting with objects with the F button, the melee button, to interact with levers and such. So this will take me back to the beginning. Next, we'll show the earth element testing area. We also created doors that can be opened with F. So because you're in the earth mode, you can't burn down the doors anymore. So you can open them with the melee attack. Left mouse button to throw boulders. It deals moderate damage, but it has a slower firing speed than the fire. All right. So we have our next door. Right mouse button. This is the utility for the earth abilities. Right mouse button to raise a rock wall. It protects against projectiles and hinders enemy movement. So if you have an enemy that can walk towards you, this will actually block them from getting next to you. And this can be used in many different ways by the player, so they can choose if they want to be more defensive or offensive while playing the game. Next, we'll go ahead and show the lightning element testing area. Also, the things I've been picking up, there are pickups that will be in the level that activate the abilities themselves. So right now, I only have fire and electricity activated, and the player is able to switch based on the current situation. So let's see. So the same as before, melee to open doors. You actually hold left mouse button to charge up 3 lightning strikes, and then it will of course has a cooldown. Now you can charge all 3, or you can do only 2 at a time, or 1, depending on the situation. Still some balancing to happen, but it'll be pretty good for large groups, basically. Okay. All right. Next, we'll look at when you hold right mouse button, the dragon will actually enter sprinting mode. So this is the utility for electricity. So here's the normal moving speed. And when you hold right mouse button, so you can use it to clear larger gaps than before. So the player can use this to quickly, you can either avoid enemies. I believe the jump height is actually less than it normally is. So the player can't just use this to skip the levels. They're still confined more to the ground, and that's the intention of the lightning itself. Later, I really want to make, to follow the core pillars of elements affecting the world around it. I want the lightning to, say, activate some switches or metal objects and be able to carry a current. So that's kind of like a sprint goal right now, but we'll see what we have time for in the project. So next we have the elemental testing area. You can jump higher in the air state than in the any other state, so the fire state. So you can use that to get up to ledges you couldn't before, but also it comes with a glide state. So you hold right mouse button and then press jump to glide. And the player does eventually have to reach the ground, of course, and you're only limited to 2 jumps. So this can be used to reach higher areas that they couldn't before. We plan on using this in the Metroidvania style to have corridors that the player can't quite reach yet until they unlock the glide mode. It can also be used to float, so you can jump without it active and then activate it while in the air. Then you just combine the glide with the double jump and even the dash to jump even further over gaps than you could before, even with the lightning and the other ones. The last offensive ability here is the gust attack. So just like the lightning, we have a charge indicator to the right of the cooldown bar, and the longer you hold it, the larger the gust that comes out. So if I charge this fully 100% and let go, this we really want to use with having level mechanics such as propellers or propellers. We also want it to be able to push enemies over ledges or out of the way. So that would be again that same core pillar of using elements to affect the world around you. And that would complete my presentation of the offensive and utility mechanics for Project Indigo's Dragon Adventure game. Thank you so much for watching.